Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news mashup video today, and just before I get into it, a lot of background noise today. I'm camped out at a lake in New Zealand. The weather's got up, so the wind is sort of blowing through, the waves are crashing in. I'm right on the shoreline, so apologies for that in advance. But let's crack into it. Very interesting story with David Higgins, Joseph Parker's former promoter and current manager slash advisor. So he says that Oleksandr Uysk is a clear B side and Joseph Parker is an A side. So he says to Sky Sports, Uysk has not earned his stripes at heavyweight. Joseph Parker is the A side, and Joseph Parker has sold out the Principality Stadium with Joshua. He sold out the O2 with White. He's the A side, and so if Uysk wants to share the ring with Parker, I would be expecting a 70-30 open book revenue share in Parker's favour. I'll get ridiculed for that, but listen, Parker has beaten Andy Ruiz, he's sold out the Principality and the O2, and he's a big name in the UK, so Uysk is the B side. There's a few more comments here from Higgins which I'll get to, but I want to weigh in on this first. So there's a number of ways that we can look at this, because if you examine some of those comments, Joseph Parker was actually the B side in the couple of fights that Higgins has mentioned as having sold out. Anthony Joshua was the big draw for the unification, not Joseph Parker. It takes two to tango, but most paid money to get, tickets to see Anthony Joshua. And the Dillian White fight, Joseph Parker was the B side in that. It was White Parker, it wasn't Parker White. And Parker was coming off a loss, and let's face it, right now, Joseph Parker hasn't had a meaningful win for a couple of years, since 2017. In the past couple of years, he's had notable losses against Joshua and White, and a couple of tune-up wins against Alexander Flores and also Alex Leopai. So I'm not sure how, and I'm a big Joseph Parker fan, but don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm not sure how they can say he's the A side based off effectively no sort of resume of late. Be a different story if Joseph Parker had a couple of big wins under his belt in 2019, coming into this with a lot of momentum. But if anything, Joseph Parker's stock has been down through 2019 because of inactivity. Obviously, he was meant to fight Derek Chisora a couple of times. It never happened for, various reasons, the spider bite being the second time around. So saying it has to be A side for Joseph Parker, that he also has to get a 70-30 split of the profits from the fight, etc. It does seem to be a little bit, beyond the pale, and Higgins said he would get ridiculed for those statements, and I think justifiably so that he should, because it does seem a little bit silly. I mean, it's easy to say that Oleksandr Uysk hasn't earned his stripes at heavyweight, but he did earn his stripes at cruiserweight, becoming the undisputed champion, also winning the World Super Series of Boxing at cruiserweight, beating Tony Bellew in a defense, and obviously Bellew had been up at heavyweight, beating David Haye a couple of times. And Uysk has sold out arenas around, the world. He has been a road warrior. So just to sort of label Oleksandr Uysk a clear B side, given Joseph Parker's lack of fights and activity recently, yeah, I'm not sure I really agree with that. So I'm not sure of the rules between a mandatory challenger and the next highest ranked contender, but it's surely not going to be 70-30 in the next highest ranked contender's favour. And the other way to look at it is, if Higgins is really pushing this barrow, then it kind of indicates that they may not want the fight, because seemingly that would be demands that they really can't sort of push for or secure. And the other thing here is, I mean, some of the language here, the open book revenue, 70-30 split, yada yada yada, that's the promoter in David Higgins talking, but he's not Joseph Parker's promoter now. I'm not really sure that he can dictate terms in these sort of situations, because he's not going to be the guy putting the deal together. It's actually going to be Eddie Hearn, and yes, he would probably need to agree to some stuff along with Joseph Parker, but it's more likely that they're going to get an offer to accept or not, and if they don't, well, maybe they walk away. But Higgins has actually said here further down in the story, absolutely Joe would fight him as long as the Uysk team recognise and understand that they are the B side. There's no problem. So, we'll have to see what happens there, because some of that to me seems a little bit silly. It's almost just like headlines for the sake of headlines here, because I'm not sure that Joseph Parker is necessarily anymore a clear A side. If this was 2017 and he held the WBO belt, well, sure. Or if it was just after he lost to Anthony Joshua, you could surely make a case for that. But a couple of high-profile losses and then a couple of tune-ups since, hasn't had a significant win in a few years. It does seem to be a bit of a joke to sort of say that he has to get 70-30 and he's a massive A-side over Usyk. And Usyk's promoter Oleksandr Uysk has also told Sky Sports that Usyk would welcome the opportunity to fight Parker. He says in case it turns out that the WBO title is vacant, Usyk will be happy to fight for it, and Joseph Parker is the highest available contender. Moving on, heavyweight Dominic Breazeale has accused Adam Kownacki of ducking him. There had been persistent rumours that Dominic Breazeale was going to face Adam Kownacki on March the 7th at the Barclays Centre. That's when Adam Kownacki is next fighting. That has already been confirmed a week or so ago. Breazeale was one of about 3 names in the mix, Christian Hammer another, and also Robert Helenius. But clearly Breazeale out of the mix now, judging by this post on his Instagram. See here on screen. The look on AK Babyface when it comes to signing the contract to fight me. Now he wants to fight a washed up dude instead of giving fans a heavyweight slugfest and fighting me. Go ahead and pad your record and stay safe. At some point you'll have to fight. I'll stay in the gym and we'll continue to look for the best fights for the fans. #trouble. So that's Dominic Breazeale's take on the situation. My take, if it ends up being Robert Helenius, because that seems to be the favourite at the moment, not confirmed yet. But to be honest, Breazeale and Helenius, it's much of a muchness. I don't think Dominic Breazeale is a massive step above either Christian Hammer or Robert Helenius at this point in his career. He really hasn't had any notable big wins in the past, year or two. He did fight Carlos Negron and beat him, but Negron is a bit of a step down from where Breazeale had been fighting. And as we know, he had his soul taken by Deontay Wilder in May 2018, and we really haven't cited him since until recently he started to appear on social media. So Breazeale, obviously he's got his stance, he wanted that fight, but if it is Helenius, I mean, it's much of a muchness with the Breazeale fight. BT Sport has won the rights to show the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury pay-per-view event in the United Kingdom. Sky had originally made an offer reportedly to be over £10 million for the fight, but BT has come in and matched the offer, as was their right to do so, so they will broadcast the fight. Meanwhile, promoter Frank Warren says progress is being made to make a fight between Daniel Dubois and Joyce. In his column on his website, Frank Warren says, "It's a fight we want to make and positive discussions are ongoing at the moment." He continues by saying, what a fight that would be. 2 of the best unbeaten young, and then in brackets, at heart, in Joe's case, bracket, and unbeaten heavyweights in world boxing, putting it all on the line in a huge London collision. What's not to like about it? This is the sort of fight we also want to make for the fans. And my take on this is that I think it will get made eventually, but I'm not sure that it's going to happen next. I think Frank Warren is going to use 2020 to build the interest for that fight so it can be bigger and better, and probably towards the back end of 2020. Also in his column he says, also don't forget Nathan Gorman in all this, who still has a massive future and his ambitions rightly remain the same as before his fight with Daniel. Another young heavyweight to keep tabs on over the course of 2020 is David Adelaide, who made a hugely impressive debut in our final show of the year and is currently putting in the work with Tyson Fury over in the States. And just finishing with a curious post from Jarrell Miller. So he's put up a photo you can see here on screen with Carlos Takam. But then the caption says, well, I heard they say I'm signing with Top Rank and ESPN. Not sure about all that, as well as making my return on Fury Wilder card. Takam looks like lunch food, right? Now, people, I'm not sure about all of that, but if that's the case, tag Top Rank and ESPN. Might have to get my Eat Clean Bro order in today. So it's quite interesting because Miller's co-promoter Dimitri Salita was the one that seeded the idea that Miller could be signing with Top Rank very soon, but also that he could be returning on the Wilder Fury 2 card. So they've been generating this own press, and now there's this curious post that Miller's made, not really sort of definitively saying much of anything. But Carlos Takam versus Jarrell Miller, if that does happen, I think I would expect Miller to beat Carlos Takam. This version of Takam, who's, 38, 39 years old, certainly hasn't been looking as good in the past couple of years. But yeah, it's an interesting fight if they make it, but whether Jarrell Miller signs to Top Rank or not, hard to say. Maybe this is just all hype. Maybe he's preparing for his return, and it won't be with one of the big networks, but they need to get his name out there. It's a possibility. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.